He would love nothing more than to divide our country based on race, religion, gender, orientation, or immigration status. Because this is the only way he knows he can prevent the solidarity of us working together across all of our differences.
You know, it's really quite interesting how people have tried to manipulate people and how to intimidate people and change their minds. This has been going on since we've been in America. You know, you go back to the days of slavery.
The time for being nice is now over. We just saw a huge fight between two big people, and the whole internet is going crazy about it. For a long time, we have been hearing strong anti-American talk from people like Ilhan Omar, who seem more focused on pulling this country down instead of building it up. But this time, she faced someone she couldn't push around. Dr. Ben Carson didn't just answer her latest attacks. He completely broke apart her whole way of thinking in a moment so intense that people are already calling it the biggest political takedown of the decade. Get ready, because this is a truth that the mainstream media really doesn't want people to see.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your courage to be here, because in the society that we live in today, it takes a lot of courage to say that you're supporting President Trump. And, you know, it's really quite interesting how people have tried to manipulate people and how to intimidate people and change their minds. This has been going on since we've been in America. You know, you go back to the days of slavery, you know, and in a lot of the states there were more slaves than there were owners. So what did they do? They had to divide the slaves. So they told the ones in the house, you're better than the ones in the yard. And the ones in the yard, you're better than the ones in the field. And then after slavery was over, the light-skinned ones, you're better than the dark-skinned ones. And on it went, trying to divide people. Today, they say, if you are a conservative, then you are somehow an Uncle Tom, you're a horrible person, you're a demon. What a bunch of crap, you know, but, you know, it's been going on for hundreds of years. And it's really time to put a stop to it. So I am very happy to see that you have the courage to come out. You know, it doesn't bother me anymore because, you know, I only worry about what God thinks. I don't worry about what these other people think. But, you know, sometimes people ask me, what happened to you? You changed. I haven't changed. I changed about 35 years ago because, you see, I grew up in Detroit, a bastion of liberalism. They call it progressivism now. They keep changing the name. But anyway, then from there to Boston, a bastion of liberalism. Back to Detroit, and then to New Haven, Connecticut, a bastion of liberalism, and then to Ann Arbor, Michigan, a bastion of liberalism, and then to Baltimore, Maryland, a bastion of liberalism. So I had no chance. I was a liberal. I was way out there. And then I did something that liberals are never supposed to do. I listened to a conservative. I listened to Ronald Reagan. And I said, you know, he doesn't sound like a horrible racist person. He sounds just like my mother. And at that point, I started thinking for myself. And that made a big difference. It made a big difference in my medical career, too. I didn't do what everybody else did. I always started thinking out of the box. How do you solve this problem? And that's the reason that God gave us these complex brains. Your brain has billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions of interconnections. It remembers everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. It can process more than 2 million bits of information in 1 second. Would God give you something like that just so that you can be a sheep and follow what somebody else tells you to do? Or to think for yourself? And, you know, don't you find it fascinating that so many people say the president's a racist? He's a horrible racist and everything he does. Well, you know, it seems to me like some years ago, Jesse Jackson actually gave the president an award in New York City because he opened so many opportunities for black people. Is that what a racist does? And then when he moved to Palm Beach, he was right on the forefront to fighting the clubs who were not admitting Jews and blacks. Does that sound like what a racist would do? He is the one who finally got the Second Chance Act done. Does that sound like what a racist would do? When he took office, he brought the office of HBCUs to the White House so it could get appropriate attention, more money than ever. Opportunity zones so that people could take this money and direct it to the places where people did not have opportunities before. An economy where you have the lowest unemployment rates for black people in history. And it goes on and on and on. Let me tell you something. If he's a racist, he's an awfully bad one. He needs to go get a lesson from the real racists. The people who look at somebody like you and me and they say, because your skin is a certain color, you have to think a certain way. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. And they start calling you names. Those are the real racists. But you know, the president believes that a rising tide lifts all boats. He doesn't believe in identity politics, and that's why he's doing things that work for everybody. And we should be happy about that. And the media, they like to pick on him, any little thing. You know, he's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. The only one who ever was perfect was Jesus, and they crucified him. So, you know, think about this. And we need to just look at the big picture, think about all the incredible things that are happening. Think for ourselves and be missionaries. Go out and talk to your family, talk to your friends, help them to realize, because see, if all they're doing is looking at certain media, they don't even know about these things that we just talked about that he has done. And so they can perpetrate this horrible image of him being a bad person. It is absolutely not true. I work with him all the time. He's a wonderful person. He's become a good friend. You remember during the campaign when we were having a debate and I couldn't hear my name. I came out, I stood there, I was waiting to hear everybody else gleefully walk past. He was the only one who stood with me until they straightened it out. That's the kind of person that our president is. He is my friend, and he will be your friend as you get to know him. Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
It began with the same usual planned attacks that we always hear from Omar. The same old claims that America is a place of unfair treatment and that the system is set up against us. She thought she could use her platform to embarrass anyone who disagrees with her strong ideas. But Dr. Carson was not accepting that at all. He stood firm with a calm and focused attitude that made her look like she didn't know what she was doing. He didn't just offend himself. He went on the attack, questioning the base of her woke thinking. This was the highest point of the argument. Omar tried again to push her Somalia-first thinking and her constant criticism of American values. Carson's reply was very sharp and precise. He looked straight at her and gave a strong criticism of the double standards he believes the radical left has. He pointed out that while she enjoys the freedom and success of the greatest country on earth, she spends all her time trying to weaken it. You could see clear panic in her eyes as her talking points started to fall apart under his logic. Then came the moment everyone is talking about. Dr. Carson gave a speech that was so powerful, so strong, and so direct that it left the audience completely shocked. He talked about the harm of identity politics and the danger of leaders who see their own country as an enemy. He didn't hold back, calling out the radical squad for creating division and for what he described as betraying the American people. If you think we need more people like Ben Carson, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Join the group of patriots who are tired of the lies. As Carson finished his last point, the room didn't just clap, it burst with energy. We're talking about a level of excitement you only see when people feel the truth finally comes out. People stood up and cheered for a man who had the courage to say what many were thinking. It was a full rejection of Omar's plan. In that moment, she wasn't just losing an argument, she was losing control of the story. The silence from her supporters was very loud as the reality of her loss became clear. What happens after this is going to last? We are seeing what they describe as a full exposure of the radical left's biggest figures. When you compare a man like Dr. Carson with someone like Ilhan Omar, the difference is very clear. He showed the world that you can speak softly and still carry strong truth. This wasn't just a win for Carson. It was a big hit to the whole squad and their goal to change America into something unfamiliar. Dr. Ben Carson just showed a perfect example of how to fight back. He didn't step back, he didn't say sorry, and he didn't let others control the rules. He spoke for every American who is tired of being judged and lectured by people who they feel don't love this country. This is a turning moment. Everyone, things are changing away from the radicals and toward what they see as truth. Make sure you share this video with every patriot you know. The fight for America's future is happening right now, and because of leaders like Dr. Carson, they believe they are winning. Stay loud, stay proud, and I'll see you in the next one.